Thanks everybody for joining us. For those who have not met me, but I think everybody has for that matter, I'm Drew Schlossberg, proud now radio host over at Cloudcast Media Radio. So as many of you folks know, I've had a variety of businesses, a curriculum business. I've had a marketing PR business, and on top of my Union Tribune work. And we launched our radio shows in 2007, and I had the fortune of meeting my good friend and now colleague, Charles Parisi, a few years ago. He'll tell his story, how he got to get on the radio with his daughter with a homeless teen project. But Charles and Cloudcast have actually been doing the production of the shows since June of last year, and now I'm moving everything over. So I'll get into some of those details. And as Charles knows by your emails, these are some of my closest and dearest friends that have been just wonderful supporters of our radio show. And so we appreciate them coming on. I know we'll see some more as we go through our little webinar Zoom meeting. Charles, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Drew. And first of all, thank everyone for your time here today. I want to try to be really respectful and attentive to your time. So for those of you that have worked with me in the past, particularly Susie, Denise, and Erica, I'll try not to be as long-winded as I usually am. So I'm going to try to keep the pace going, because I know there's something else competing with us today called SpaceX. So we'll try to accelerate it. But thank you for your time. And Drew, it's been a pleasure knowing you and working with you over the years. Just a little background. I met Drew going back to probably 2015. We were introduced by Deacon Jim Vargas, who was going to join this call. I was a longstanding board member at Father Joe's for about 13 years, going back to 1999 when I first arrived in San Diego. And I met Drew through a project I was working with my daughter called Songs for Shelter, to try to raise money through music for homeless and runaway teenagers. And Drew was kind enough to allow me to join his show. And then lo and behold, here I am a few years later. And last summer, we started Cloudcast Media, which for me is rooted in two pieces. And I promise I'm not going to make this an evolutionary genetics class today or talk about physics, but I have to touch on both a little bit in terms of why I'm so passionate about Cloudcast Media. And I think hopefully the benefits we can bring to organizations like yours and helping relaunch, Drew shows. One is, I always like to spend a little time, and I promise I'll be brief, is why you're master communicators. And to me, the history of why humans even talk is fascinating. Somewhere between 300,000 and 3 million years ago. And we technically don't know, because there was no record. We spoke before we wrote. So the ability to record when we first started speaking is interesting, but we don't know for sure. But somewhere along the line, human beings and our ancestors got up one day and started to speak. And it's still the most ubiquitous, innate form of communication in the world, which is speaking and oral and storytelling, which is really the natural human trait, is the ability to speak, but also tell stories. So the key is, from an evolutionary perspective, somehow, some way, the ability to speak became a competitive advantage in terms of our own evolution, our own survival, and our own growth. So to me, it's just so powerful that how we've evolved and how speech has evolved and how communication has evolved, but it became a competitive advantage. And the real key for me, as I always like to think about, is, well, why is the ability to communicate and the ability to speak a competitive advantage? And there's a variety of reasons, because they don't really know for sure. And many folks will say, well, we speak because we want to be heard. But for me, it's a competitive advantage because it's allowed us to be collective recording history on a collective basis, as opposed to individual memories. By the ability to speak and communicate, we can share histories, we can bond, we can socialize, we can share knowledge, we can share experiences that outside the ability to speak, we wouldn't be able to do as well. So it's about bonding, community building, socialization, all most effectively delivered through storytelling. And again, I apologize because I know I'm speaking to a room full of communicators. But for me, that's the whole core and reason why I was excited about starting Cloudcast Media after many, many years as an entrepreneur, specifically focused on marketing and selling. And I'd like to think through some storytelling. I think storytelling is the heart and soul of what we're trying to do here with Cloudcast. As humans, we love stories, whether we're talking about sports, whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about history. We love to tell stories. And so for me, it's kind of fascinating that the oldest form of medium, speech, oral communication, is back to being the number one, the fastest growing, medium on the planet, which we call podcasting, which is really storytelling with a little bit of technology and narrative building. So for me, it's just great to, to be helping deliver stories, for local storytellers. So from an evolutionary standpoint, I love to talk about speech and how powerful it is. Some of you may be familiar with a gentleman named Marshall Poe, who wrote kind of a history of communications, and he talks about these 6 phases of communication, which again segues into why we're excited about Cloudcast. The first phase was speech. The second one was manuscripting. The third was print. The fourth was audiovisual. The fifth was the internet, and the sixth was digital. And for Cloudcast, it's that 6th phase, digital, combined with the very first one, which was speech, is really a core component of what we're doing, because digital plus speech is really what oral, storytelling, podcasting is all about. So the whole evolution of communication in many respects has kind of brought us back to the beginning, digital storytelling by way of, podcasting. And as I mentioned, the fastest growing, medium on the planet. So let me give you a little bit of an overview, because I'm hopefully at some point, if it ever makes sense for your organizations. And by the way, I want to say a little thank you to Skatina Daniels and the team, Eric and Denise. I appreciate they're already working with me on several clients. Same thing with Susanna Villegas. I appreciate, giving us a try, and hopefully we've done some good work for some of your clients. But, how can, Cloudcast be a competitive advantage, kind of along the lines of, the evolution of speech became a competitive advantage. How do we think we might be able to help you in some way, shape, or form? So, I call it the Magnificent Seven. One, we think differently here at Cloudcast. We'd like to think we're creative. We're very entrepreneurial. Like I said, I've been an entrepreneur for 33 years. I'm proud of that. So I understand, that you have to be very focused, very entrepreneurial, very budget conscious. So we think differently. We're very entrepreneurial. 2 is we're strategic by design. We're very outcomes driven. I think that goes back to being entrepreneurs. We don't really want to do work just for the sake of doing work necessarily, or getting paid. We want to be outcomes focused, try to identify with you and your clients, what are the objectives and how can we get there, and how can we help in some way, shape, or form, deliver your message, deliver your story, in a variety of different ways, obviously podcasting being an important, component of it. 3, we're storytellers, with pretty significant experience in human behavior, marketing, and selling, the team we've put together. 4, we're technically very robust when it comes to sound, video, and other forms of magic, I call it. The engineers we have on the team are very, very solid, 20, 25, 30 years in the world of video and sound, working from everything from top musical groups to, other types of entertainment organizations. 5 is we're local. And I mentioned I was going to touch upon physics. Our company is exclusively focused on local stories, local storytellers, local brands. There's a direct relationship between trust and storytelling and distance. In fact, it's an inverse relationship. The shorter the distance, the higher the gravitational attraction, the higher the trust, the higher the impact. So we're exclusively focused on local. Doesn't mean that our stories won't have national resonance, but we're trying to help deliver stories for local storytellers and local brands, because we think that's where the power is. And in fact, there's some surveys came out recently in terms of, in a world where trust is kind of perhaps on an all-time low, trust in local media and local brands is still very high. And I think for us that we're happy to see those things because we love it. The 6th reason is we've built storytelling tools and platforms specifically for the social enterprise space. And as Drew mentioned, I met him through, Songs for Shelter and trying to do some good work for, the homeless and runaway teen community. I've worked with a variety of nonprofits in San Diego, both at a board level and as well as from a marketing standpoint, to try to help them lift their voice and deliver their their messages in a variety of different ways. So we've architected a suite of tools and services that hopefully, there may be some things over time that can be helpful. Obviously working with Drew. One is the podcast. Obviously we have fantastic podcasting capabilities, storytelling capabilities, vodcast, which essentially is the video version, of the podcast. We've built a web-based broadcast TV product we call Cloudcast BTV. We have virtual live event capabilities. We've built something called Cloudcast 180, which is essentially a 3-minute hard-hitting interview, kind of a commercial, which we run through all of our programs. And then we have something called Community Cast, where we will literally, on a live basis, whether it's a podcast, a vodcast, we've done this actually with the UT and I think Successful Aging, Drew, where we will cover events live and create digital content. It could be an annual event or a gala or some other fun opportunity. It's all organized through CauseCast. So if you go to, our website, cloudcast.us/CauseCast, we're really trying to build a great media platform, multimedia platform, to give voice to the nonprofits in San Diego. And everything we're doing with respect to CauseCast and serving you and your clients is done on a completely no profit basis. This is our way of trying to help lift voices, for nonprofits in San Diego. And, we are cognizant of the fact that demand is higher than ever for the resources of community partners that you serve. Demand is up, resources are down, which means, organizations need to be more impactful than ever before with their marketing, which lends itself to obviously digital media and digital storytelling, which of course is a shameless commercial for Cloudcast. And the seventh and final reason of my magnificent seven is we love social ventures. We love social entrepreneurs. Erica and Denise know I was involved in helping start a high school here in San Diego for entrepreneurship. And the DNA of the students very quickly became social entrepreneurship. And so we love social entrepreneurship. We love community champions. And here at Cloudcast, we dedicate an awful lot of time and energy to trying to elevate, this space and try to deliver, 1 + 1 = 4, impact, with marketing dollars, particularly in a world, as I mentioned, where demand for your resources is up, but the resources themselves are down. So in any event, so that's kind of our magnificent seven, which brings us, I know the purpose of the meeting today was to help bring everyone up to speed on, why we're here, which is to help relaunch, Drew shows, which have been a backbone from a communication standpoint, for the nonprofit space in San Diego for many, many years. Drew's literally probably has done more internet radio / podcast shows than I would argue probably anyone in America going back 14 years. So it's incredible. So that's a hopefully quick overview of Cloudcast and some of the capabilities. Obviously, it's a very 30,000-foot level. Love to engage with, each of you one-on-one at some point in the future, if there's ever a need, to see how we might be able to help your clients. But it's a segue to Drew. We're back to you in terms of the relaunch of your shows and how we want to continue to be, an important communications partner for, your friends and clients and their social enterprises.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So the bottom line is for a lot of the folks here that are on this Zoom, things are going to be looking a lot the same as what we've done before, but with different titles. Proud to announce that I'm going to actually have my own sort of radio studio, for lack of a better term, called DS Studio, effective with next Friday's shows. With it, we're not going to be calling it the UT Community Spotlight Show. It'll be called Drew Schlossberg Spotlight on the Community. I was reluctant to use my name in it, but Charles said, people know who you are, so you're using your name. So, all right, fine. We're going to go to continue the military shows. We're going to rebrand it, call it Mission San Diego Military, with our good friend Mark Palmer, who Rear Admiral, retired from the San Diego Military Advisory Council. And then we're going to continue our prep sports show. We're going to call it San Diego Sports 360. The beauty of doing all of this is, again, we'll be continuing to reach out and do the exact same things that we have done with you folks for nearly almost 14 years. For those people who had shows booked in June, they're going to go off the exact same way they've done before, with the major caveat that now we're going to be broadcasting the shows from the Cloudcast media radio studio on Miramar Road. That if you got a pen handy anyway, Charles is going to follow through with an email on this. So just to let you know, it's located at 7084 Miramar Road, Suite 206. 92121. And again, Charles will follow through on this. So we're going to pretty much keep the shows. I think, Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still crossing T's and dotting I's, but at the same time frame as we've done before, 9 o'clock to 11 and half hour increments on Fridays. And again, those who had June shows, the only difference is going to be we're going to be doing those at Cloudcast Media beginning June the 5th and moving forward. For those people who had guests on that we're going to be coming on in May, we're going to move you to July. So you'll be looking for an email from me in the next few days or so, maybe into next week, with giving you dates for you to reschedule those in July and then continuing to move forward. We anticipate that we'll still have the same popularity, which I appreciate you folks from the agencies and the firms and of course the individual organizations. We were booked like 3 months in advance. I know that's a little bit of a headache for some of you folks that want to get some of your events on early, but I think it's a good footprint. Just to let you know, as Charles was going through the laundry list of opportunities we have, certainly we'll continue with the podcast and the shows you're so accustomed to, but they have great video capabilities. They have online or capabilities, live events, and go out to events and so forth. So just sort of keep that in mind. And, we encourage you to, obviously we'll be seeing you folks who had the June people set up in June, of course, and then the May folks in July. But if you've got some other ideas and you want to extend your brand and, hey, I want to find out more about what you folks are doing video wise, or you're doing, live casts or community casts, and just shoot me an email and Charles, and we'll set up one-on-ones for each of you on your time. We know you guys are all swamped with what's going on with COVID and so forth on that. We're excited about this. We think it's going to be even more advantageous for you and your clients. You'll get the same quality of service working with Cloudcast. They've been working with us for a year anyway, like Charles mentioned. We do want to give a shout out to EnterTalk Radio. They're the people that are behind the scenes and do the front end and back end. And big high five to Tino Bonaventura, who's on right now, and of course Paul Berezetsky and all the group over there who just do stellar work. I think one of the things I've always appreciated from you folks is that you appreciate the high quality of sound, and the interview has always been very strong, and that'll continue in that aspect of it. So that's my 2 cents in this. We'll continue to grow DS Studio. If you folks have an idea, listen, I may want to do my own shows with my clients or whatever, and you want to be part of DS Studio, it's a great phone call with myself and a conversation with Charles. Again, it doesn't take away from anything we're already currently doing with your clients. That will stay the same as it's always been for 13 plus years. And so we look forward to having that, high quality as well. Charles, you want to add anything before I open it up?
Yeah, I was going to just mention, Drew, first of all, thank you for those thoughts. And so I would just encourage everyone with all of your clients, whether it's with us, whether it's internally. I think the power of marketing through audio is just the most authentic and the most personalized of all forms of communication. And I say that, and I'll give you my view on that, because when we're creating visual branding tools, whether it's a website, whether it's social media, or perhaps it's a written, catalog or PDF, nothing can be more authentic because we're creating it. But the audio and the theater of the mind and the visualization of the words and the multi-layered aspects of oral communication, in my view, forms the most personalized and authentic representation of a brand. Because literally people are visualizing in many different ways and storing memories accordingly. And when they recall your brand, they're recalling it in a very authentic, personalized way because they created it. So I just think that it's really important in the world today of communication that it's an important additional element of a strategic marketing plan, a strategic communication platform, is to layer it in. So if we can help in some way, or you do it internally, but I would encourage everyone to try to engage by delivering that type of capability. And again, the second, what Drew mentioned, is a couple things. One, Drew, of course, his show gets booked up in advance and it's got a pretty tight schedule. But if there's ever even a last minute need or a short-term need, please don't just hit us up. And Drew knows occasionally he's requested, hey, Charles, can we schedule an extra episode because it's really important timing on a particular need? The answer is, that's what we're here for. That's what we will do. So if you have a client that really needs to tell their story and they have a tight timeline that doesn't, and we seem to be booked, please offline, just let us know. And, we'll mush the Huskies and make something happen for you. And if you have other ideas to how to, bring us your stories, bring us your ideas, we'd love to figure out a way to engage and tell more and more, powerful stories here in the San Diego community.
Yeah, I'm going to brag about something that Charles came up with that he read in the newspaper, and this just shows about the entrepreneurial spirit of this. During the, I'm not sure how many of you folks are basketball fans, but as you know, the NCAA tournament, March Madness, was canceled, and one of my colleagues at the UT came up with a real brilliant idea. He was going to do a Final 64 based on sports movies, and they broke it into boxing movies and track and field and football and all that business, and literally had the brackets set up, and people would vote, and they actually had the challenges going on as if the NCAA tournament was there. Charles called me and said, man, how come you guys aren't taking advantage of that, you guys being the UT? And I go, I don't know. So we wound up coming up with a special series called GOAT, the greatest of all time sports movies. Well, we're going to continue that theme with the greatest of all time songs, the greatest of all time musicians, and this aspect of it. What was funny about it, if you followed this in the paper, Caddyshack actually beat Rocky for the national championship, which absolutely embarrassed the hell out of everybody around. And our venerable columnist, Nick Canepa, just absolutely ripped the voters for saying, how does Caddyshack even qualify as a sports movie? And how does it beat Rocky? So we did a 3-part series, and my point to the story is, if you folks have some creative ideas, we're all for it. Getting back to the series we did, we were teasing and saying, was there any fraud in there? And there was. Some guy was loading up on the Hoosiers movie and was sending in a whole bunch of emails like at midnight. And the guy who was running this at the paper, Kirk Kenny, said, God, nobody submits this many. He gets an email. He writes a column saying, I think someone was trying to sit there and load the bank on this one. Well, the daughter of the guy who was sending it in goes, that's something my dad would do. Called her dad and said, you weren't the one featured in this article trying to load up on Hoosiers, and it was. And it was funny as we got the chance to interview her on the show. The bottom line, you come up with a creative idea, you got some ideas for us, we are all ears on how we want to execute those things. Charles, I'm going to open it up. If anyone has a question, just start chatting, and I'll see what I can do to answer it. And, of course, let me give you, before I do that, my email address. If you go to my UT address, I won't get it at this point. Hopefully, if they bring me back, I will. But it's ucladrew, as in the school, ucladrew, and I'm old school, at AOL.com. Charles, what's your email?
My email is charles@cloudcast.us. And by the way, I want to mention I have a couple of team members here on the call too. Jeff Moore and Maya Thompson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll open it up for questions, and if you want to just shoot us an email afterwards, we'll respond to it. So we're all ears. Fire away.
Hey, Drew, it's Joyce. How you doing?
Hey, Joyce, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody
Joyce.
is safe and well. Hey, question is the show going to continue on Fridays?
Yes.
And that's going to be the main day. So it's not going to be like how it kind of bounced around a little bit. So it will be the same format on Fridays, correct?
Yes, right. It'll be same format, about a half hour each show, 9 to 9:30, 9:30 to 10, and so forth. It'll just be at Cloudcast Media Studios instead of the UT. As always, if you want to do the show remotely, we always encourage people to come into the studio. We think it's a better experience, but you can certainly do the shows remotely. Now, those are the Friday shows. Those are the community spotlight shows. The military show, Mission San Diego Military, will continue on a Tuesday, and Charles and I are scrubbing to see where we want to put San Diego's Sports 360, the Prep Sports Show. We're not quite sure where that'll be.
And Joyce, I might add that each segment, while it's 30 minutes, will have more talk time because Drew's prior format was about 24 minutes per half hour, 2 12-minute segments. So we're actually expanding the ability to tell the story. So there will actually be a few extra minutes per 30-minute segment.
Charles, thank you. It's helpful to know what the new narrative is going to be. So thank you. And thank you, Drew, for your answer as well.
Sure. Other questions?
Hi, Drew and Charles. Good to be with you. Congratulations on the new launch. As a new platform in San Diego, what are you guys doing about spreading word that you've migrated your show over to Cloudcast and generate listeners there?
Charles?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because my whole paradigm for years of entrepreneurship is mind share, market share, wallet share. And it starts with mind share, which is letting the community know that we're here. And so it's a great question, Russell. And part of the answer is today's a good example. We're trying to literally, and let me back up, because we view the communication firms that are here on this call and others in San Diego as really our partners. You know, we want to be an important component of your business to add value to your clients. So this is intentional on our part to try to focus on the nonprofit space and the communications firms. And we're not competitors, we're collaborators. We're here to help you amplify your capabilities and skills. So today's the beginning of those things. Now, we started last July very quietly, very, very stealthily, because we wanted to build our capabilities before we start telling the world we're here. So it's a fault of mine as an entrepreneur that I want to build a really, really good product before we take it to the world. And we've had the ability to work closely with Drew and the UT over the last 10 months. And we've done a few other shows. Like I mentioned, thank you to Skatina Daniels and Susie Villegas for, letting us practice a little bit. And we've worked with some of their blue chip organizations like West Health. In the case of Susie Villegas, we've built a program for one of her clients, the Escondido Union School District, and where we literally try to develop concepts and flesh out ideas and try to tell the story. So we're very much focused on the media companies and the communication companies. So today's part of that process of really expanding and building direct relationships and bonds, with the community. We also, obviously, in the case of some of the folks that are on the call here today from our team, like Jeff, who comes from a background in selling. He was most recently on the Yelp sales team and middle market space. We're trying to, grow that mind share. But the nonprofit space and the social entrepreneurship space is a very, very key area for us to really get our name out there in the community of San Diego. And again, it's a space that I personally have great affinity for and great affection for. So it's a fairly, we've got quite a few things that we're still working on in that mind share phase, but it's growing. The good news is it's growing pretty fast in terms of the studio. We're already building some remote studios. That's the other element I might add, and I'll share this with you because this may plant an idea for you. 7084 is the hub, but the model we're looking to develop is what I call hub and spoke. For example, in the case of Susie's client, we've now set them up with a remote studio. We also have a remote studio in Austin, in the Austin area now. That's for a local client that's spending a lot of time there. So we're going to be building more satellite studios around San Diego County. So in case there is a need to jump into a studio on a remote basis, we're going to be sprinkling them around San Diego County to provide even greater access. And we're actually going to be deploying that in conjunction with some corporate partners who are going to provide some space around San Diego for, a Cloudcast, express studio, so to speak. It won't be, and we remote in and we control the whole show from those remote studios, including with our broadcast TV product. So a lot of different tactical elements, Russell, that I'd love to spend some time with you one-on-one, if that makes sense, and show you what we're doing. But again, we're here to absorb. So if you have other ideas in terms of how we can expand our mind share, we're ready to consume, some of your ideas and deploy them.
Sure. Well, I just wanted to make sure, obviously, you've built up loyalty to Drew's shows over the years, and those avid and loyal listeners, need to know where you've moved on to, as opposed to just the fact that you're no longer broadcasting fresh shows. So want to make sure you're not losing any of those listeners.
Correct. That's a good point. Good point.
Other questions?
Hey, Drew, this is Barbara.
Hey, Barbara, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Well, fine. How's everything at NST?
Everything's rocking and rolling. I'm just curious if you guys have any social media handles that you can share with us that we might be able to promote on our own social media channels.
Charles, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, we the answer is we do, and I'm going to address that in a second, because we actually have in fact, this community, if you wouldn't mind, if the community could welcome Maya Thompson, because she's actually coming out here in June to help us with just that particular issue, Barbara. So we can all, as great communicators, we can welcome Maya to our team and be one of her first ventures in the real world of marketing, coming out here from Florida. So Maya, welcome.
Hi, yeah, I'm excited to meet everybody. It's going to be a great summer, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys and learning more about marketing. It's definitely going to be one of my first experiences with working in marketing, so I'm excited to learn a lot, and yeah.
And Barbara, I'm going to mention something else as well. One of the things that we're going to be working on is that, and I think this works well with respect to your organizations. While we have Cloudcast, Facebook, and Twitter, and all those good things, we really want to build the affinity with the actual shows themselves. So one of the things we're trying to execute, Barbara, and again, your master communicators will take all the input you can, is to really build the social media footprint for each of the shows that we developed. Because again, we're trying to tell stories for our clients and their needs and their mission, and the different shows, whether it's solving big challenges. One of the shows that it's a new show it's going to be, the topic's going to change every 4 to 6 weeks with different social challenges in San Diego, kicking off with homelessness. And obviously COVID's kind of sidetracked it a little bit in terms of, being able to get in to produce it. But so the social media strategy for Cloudcast is really as much like, again, hub and spoke again, try to focus everything on the episodes, but Facebook is Cloudcast, Cloudcast US for our social media. But again, we're here to serve you and your clients and their needs. And ultimately, if we build shows for them, drive the social media around the shows, which drives obviously the opportunities and the services back to your organizations. Again, because we literally want to be another arm of as many of you as possible, if we can help your clients tell their stories in a better way. Hey,
Charles, can you maybe just do a quick review again of Cloudcast 180, which I thought was a great idea to do like a 3-minute infomercial for a lot of the clients who actually had on the show.
Well, yeah, in fact, that was going to be one of the key, calls to action, so to speak, that we'd love to power a couple things up right away for your clients. So Cloudcast 180 is where, again, we come in, we do a 3-minute interview. And we can, if you go to our website, cloudcast.us/CauseCast, you'll see a couple of sample Cloudcast 180s we recorded with the Emilio Norris Foundation, Father Joe's Villages. We're here to record all of those for your clients. We'd love to have your clients come in and tell their story in 3 minutes, and we run them in the rotation on our shows. In addition, and we haven't spent too much time talking about this on this episode, but we're also building we're taking the audio and video with Cloudcast 180, and we're going to be partnering with some firms to deliver it to corporations and their corporate social responsibility initiatives and their need to drive affinity with employees and causes in San Diego. So this CauseCast platform is going to get bigger and bigger in terms of, so we want to capture the Cloudcast 180. We want to record some short videos with your clients. And the Cloudcast 180 and other things there's no cost. It's just, hey, come on in, schedule it with us, and we'll lay down a 3-minute interview, and then we put it in our rotation. It's at the site, because we have some other, going back to Russell's question, we have some mind share strategies to literally help elevate the voices of all these nonprofits, through the corporate marketplace. With a couple of organizations, we're chatting about trying to deliver, this platform, for companies and employees in San Diego to help further elevate, the needs, of nonprofit social entrepreneur, players.
And also, just to you pick up on that, and again, that's a free service. So you guys want to have one of your clients, you just shoot something over to Charles. Obviously, we have to look and see what the space is, but that's done at no cost. Of course, as is the shows that we still have coming on, the Community Spotlight show as well. Those don't change. Again, it's going to be pretty seamless, but just with a whole bunch more opportunities in that area. So
yeah. So whether you reach out to Drew and his DS studio, or send me an email, just you have clients you want to bring in to record, the Cloudcast 180. We're here. We ask a few questions in advance, because generally it lends itself to about 5 or 6 questions, depending on the length of the answer, with respect to the Cloudcast 180. But I would encourage you to, again, take a look at the couple of the samples at the website, and if it makes sense for you to have that, because we also provide you with the digital file, which we then think your client should push it out to their own social media, into their own, through their CRM platforms, whatever databases and marketing platforms they're using. But we'll provide you with the digital audio file, and you can utilize it and push it out.
Other questions?
Well, this is just a comment. I just want to say thank you to Drew and Charles for all the work that you do for not only our clients, the whole community. The Community Spotlight program, that's a fantastic channel and a great avenue for nonprofits to get the word out of what they are doing, because in San Diego, we don't have too many avenues to communicate at very, I would say, like grassroots community-based point. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support, and definitely let us know also how can we help you. You are helping us a lot, but I want to help you too. So
thank you, Susie.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Susie. And Charles and I can take all the help we can get, probably more on my side on that aspect of it. And, listen, the folks I see on this call here, some of the people I've worked with for so long, and you folks have been just great. Pushing our word out over here. I've worked with Barbara in her previous company for a while, and it's great to see your smiling face, Barbara, and Joyce, of course. Dell, and go down the list here. You folks have been so loyal, and we know we get a great benefit of that. And one of the things we're real proud of is the fact that, and we hope this doesn't wane at all, is, we want to tell your stories. It's not about us. It's not about Charles or me. It's about your clients. And I feel very fortunate that we're able to provide this platform. We've been doing this for quite a while. It's just going to get even and better in that area. So thank you, Susie, for that. The best you can do for us is just let people know, hey, this is going on. It's going to continue to grow. Who knows, maybe we'll start adding more shows so we're not backed up 3 months at a time. Charles and I will try to figure that out. But we're really excited about some of this new entrepreneurial spirit coming up with shows like GOAT sport movies or whatever the case may be. We are all ears. And I think this is a great thing to do for almost a test pattern. As Charles was saying, we're very entrepreneurial. Here's an idea that I don't think anyone would listen to. Send it to us, and who knows? Let's give it a rip. If it works, it's great. If not, we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
We got about 8 more minutes before we sign off. Other questions at all? Thank you, Susie, for your comment too. We appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Susie.
Usually this group is a lot more loquacious. You must be getting ready. It's hump day, I know. So over here. Russell, I know you got a bunch of other ideas swirling in your very creative brain,
In particular, I'm looking at it being 5 o'clock happy hour very soon. Since I'm 3 hours ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, you really are over here, and Russell and I have worked together for a while, and he's got some just phenomenal connections, and appreciate that. And it's always a top shelf to see you sending some folks 3,000 miles away. Where are you positioned these days?
In New Jersey, but the clients and the spokespeople kind of range the whole gamut of the country.
Right.
I'm going to follow up on what we previously spoke about, a few weeks ago when there was the interim between the shows about following up for the Mission San Diego relaunch.
Right.
And I may have a second story idea for you too. So I'll definitely reach out to the client and connect and make it happen.
I really appreciate that, Russell. Thank you.
Hey, Drew, it's Joyce Truban-Curry again. Hello again. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, honey. Doug Friedman, I know you're on this call because I can see you. Hi, Doug. I just emailed you like 3 things. So when we're off, go look at your email. But, Doug, for example, has the longest day coming up in June. And so maybe one of the things that maybe people on the call as a takeaway can go look, there's a calendar, you can find it very easily on Facebook, and look at those days, and they can be themed. Like my dad has Alzheimer's, he's in a home, and I'm very, very public about that. And Doug now works for the Alzheimer's Association, but maybe that day could be taped in advance, and it could be used for helping people. And there's a lot of those special days that are out there that you guys might want to look at a calendar and see where that narrative might be, because I know you're community based and you want to help people, but that might be another way to go besides like I call you guys and I say, hi, I'm pitching you on Meals on Wheels. You know what I'm saying? That might be an interesting way to go to give back to the community in a different and changing the narrative a little bit is my suggestion. And Doug, you better pitch him when we get off the phone on the longest day, okay, buddy?
Of course.
For your daddy and my daddy, because both our daddies have Alzheimer's. So, all right.
Thanks, Joyce. Hey, Charles, I know we're down to the last 5 minutes over here. Do we even dare talk about the Oliwed game?
Well, you mentioned Doug, so I guess one of the things we're going to be doing as well is, using the audio storytelling and some of the video capabilities we're going to be exploring some game shows. So we are going to be launching an audio game show called the Oliwed game. And lo and behold, Doug, you actually worked on the original Newlywed Game. So, we're gonna try some fun ideas too. So, if you know any candidates that want to be on the Oliwed Game, make sure you send us their names as well.
I'll give you one name, Charles. This is Joyce again. I would go Dave Mason.
Dave is actually going to be the co-host of the show.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, the whole point of all this was, again, we really want to have some fun. We want to do some different things. We have the capability, thanks to Charles and the team he's put together. We're not bound by any borders, rules, or, well, some rules, FCC, of course, but where we can actually, spread our wings on this. Again, let me give you my email address. It's ucladrew@aol.com. And Charles, yours is?
Charles at cloudcast.us.
Right. And a quick little review for all those folks who had shows set up in June. They are going to continue. You'll see a follow-up from me. Instead of being in the UT studio in the downtown offices, we'll be at the Cloudcast Media Studios on Miramar. For those folks who had shows scheduled in May, we're going to move you to July. So expect to see some emails from me on that as well. And we're just going to have some fun and continue to grow this. And please take advantage of Charles's benevolence with programs such as Cloudcast 180 and CauseCast. This thing is just going to grow and grow. I'll leave it at that. If there's any last questions, jump in now. And since there isn't, Charles, thank you. Looking forward to continuing this great partnership. To all of you folks who have been my longtime friends, and you mean a lot to us. You bring in such great clients. You're doing such great things in the community, and we will continue to make sure that you're proud of the work we do to shine a light on all the great stuff that you do and your clients. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Our
you so much.
pleasure.